This is a quick video to demonstrate Blue Sky Bio's new software features and to discuss implant placement for immediate extraction case. So this is our patient here. These were done about a year ago. He just recently fractured tooth number 7. He has an implant in tooth number 10. We're eventually going to do a 4-unit anterior bridge across here. This tooth is structurally compromised. So we're just going to sacrifice this tooth and do a 4-unit bridge. Patient spent a lot of money. He's not interested in coming back to place a single tooth implant here. So we took a CT scan. We meshed this with our intraoral scan, and we have our model here. And the idea would be to, this is the planned implant position based on the cross-sectional images we have here. We're trying to get the implant to come out the lingual central fossa of the lateral, or the lingual area. All right, so once we have our model in this area, what we're going to try to do is just close this mesh. So we'll go into model manipulation, make sure we click on our upper jaw and click on close model. This takes a minute or two to come up with something like this. So this will be perfect for what we want to accomplish. If you go into implant, the implant list, and you click on guide tube, you'll notice that this guide tube is hitting this tooth and slightly hitting the canine. The only way to get rid of this is you'll have to surgically extract this tooth and digitally extract this tooth to be able to produce a guide with a direct cut drill. So for these cases, what I'm doing is pretty much making a pilot drill guide where it's not putting as much pressure on this canine. Again, this canine's not going anywhere. This central will eventually be extracted. But now I'm going to need to digitally extract this tooth to be able to make my guide. So I'll click off of the upper jaw scan. I'm just going to work on the closed model here. So now what I need to do is cut this. So I'll go into Surfaces panel, click on the modified model that I just created, click on my cut tool, and I want to left click and try to digitally extract this tooth. This is what we come up with. So we'll just look at this in a cross section and view it. So what you'll notice is I cut off too much here. So I'm going to go back, get the tooth back, and I really just want to cut off this area here. So I'll put this a little bit more at an angle, and I'll digitally extract it once again, plus cut tool. So every once in a while you'll have this failed cut mesh, and what that means is in this cutting, some of these triangulations aren't closed, like this one right here, and this will cause a problem in the guide. So we'll go back and try to get a different angle to cut this tooth out. Maybe coming out from the facial aspect. That's causing an issue as well. That's actually a really good cut. I'm a little bit too much in this canine area, so that's going to cause a problem. And that's the issues I'm having here. So let's try that one more time. I'm really just trying to get the guide tube fully visible. And what I want to do so I don't mess anything up is just go ahead and save our work. And I want to point out one trick that I've learned. It's pretty smart whenever you're cutting models, just in case you run into any issues, just to always duplicate them like this, change the color to something else, but just to have a backup just in case anything happens. You don't have to work in this one. We'll just put this one as the cut model, and we'll make this one the duplicated model, and we'll just work on the cut model. So let's try again one more time to cut along here. I just won't take as much. Still having that issue. So let's try to move forward to see how that works out for us. I have pretty much a full view. You can see it's cutting into this tooth. So I'll show you how to work around that. Now what we're going to do is go into guide panel. And if you like the angulation of the implant, we're going to work on the cut model again. Work on the maxilla, press jaw curve. And I like to work at least 2 teeth back from the area that we're working in. I'm going to grab this lateral. Edit curve. All right, so now we're going to press create surgical guide. And this is what we have here. All right, it looks pretty good. So a couple things to talk about. One is this implant. All right, so this is pretty thin right here against the central incisor. Okay, and this is a pretty good width. The problem I'm going to run into is when I print this, I want to use a guide sleeve tube. So once I put pressure on this with a metal housing, it's going to wind up cracking or possibly breaking this little area. So a little tip is to, when you export, have this guide sleeve tube turned on so you can export both the surgical guide as long as the guide tube, and they'll be all in one piece and you can print them together. Everything else looks sufficient. Let's look at the intaglio surface. So it doesn't look like the mesh created any issues. But I'll print this just like this with the guide sleeve tube in it, give it a little bit more support so that I can put a metal housing in here. And what I'll have to do is I'll have to modify this central by cutting it in half or cutting into it before I place my implant so the surgical guide will seat completely. But that's pretty much it. All you have to do now is save all of our information, and I'll show you how to export this. So whenever you go to File, Export Data, it's going to ask you, so what you want to do is click on, that's the implant. You want to click on the guide tube, and you want to click on the surgical guide. So you'll export both of these together. Export that to our desktop. And that's pretty much it.